Hello to you all, and thank you for joining me on this historic occasion where our nation is faced with a difficult decision. I'd like to speak to you about the benefits of being a member of the European Union. Now, sustained peace among EU nations is one of the primary reasons for the EU's foundation. Even now, the President of Ireland has suggested that a border with Northern Ireland may increase tensions in the region. Brexiters have begrudged the 330,000 immigrants who came to the UK last year, although they do ignore the fact that EU trade partners Norway and Switzerland are bound by free movement rules despite not being EU members. The difference is that they have no say on the rules that govern their immigration policy because they are not EU members. It is our responsibility to help those fleeing for their lives as we have done for thousands of years, and many immigrants who do come to work in the UK do work that UK citizens are unwilling to do. We also benefit from being able to work and live in other EU countries. Now, around 3 million jobs are linked to the EU and will be plunged into uncertainty if voters choose to exit, as businesses would be less likely to invest if the country was outside the EU. We are part of arguably the world's largest trading bloc, boosting both UK businesses and jobs. In a globalising world, the UK's interests are best protected by remaining part of this bloc, with both American and Chinese leaders indicating as much. It strengthens workers' rights and gives consumers both common standards and rights valid everywhere in the Union. The EU does have free trade agreements with 68 countries, and renegotiating as a most favoured nation outside of those could see an increase in tariffs and a knock-on effect on exports that could lead to higher unemployment. Currently, 44% of Britain's exports go to other EU countries, and putting up barriers with those countries would most certainly be counterproductive. Now, although the economic impact of Brexit is based on estimates and therefore the outcome is highly uncertain, the financial markets historically do not do well in times of uncertainty. The economy is predicted to shrink by 2% in comparison with 6% in 2008. But given the outcome of austerity within the UK, which included cuts to domestic violence services and disability benefits, any threat to economic stability should be taken seriously. The value of sterling is already falling amid fears of a potential Brexit. Now, a vote for the UK to leave the EU would almost certainly trigger the argument for another independence referendum for Scotland, leading to greater isolation not only of the nations within our country, but of our country as a whole. Now, the EU costs £8.5 billion per year. Now, even within that, £1.4 billion is research funding from the EU to fund research in both science and business. In terms of democracy, the EU is elected through proportional representation, which is a much fairer method than the UK system of first past the post where votes are wasted. There's freedom for us to live and work anywhere in the EU. It's easy to travel without visas, and we have cheap mobile roaming. There are 1.4 million British people who live within the EU, and 14,000 students who are part of the Erasmus scheme who study within the European Union. Now, it is for those reasons I have outlined that I would ask you to think carefully about your vote, and I would urge you that it is better for the UK to remain part of the European Union. We are better together and we are stronger together. I am Scottish, I am British, I am European. Thank you and good night.